You truly are mysterious. Coming all the way to the residence of Roswal L. Mathers in the Kingdom of Luganica without knowing the circumstances, and somehow making it through the kingdom's examination process upon entering the country. Ah well, I guess you could say I'm something like an illegal immigrant, huh? Subaru's casual remark made Amelia's eyes widen in shock before she glared at him with righteous indignation, like a mother scolding a reckless child. You're unbelievable. Do you even realize what would happen if we reported this? You could be arrested on the spot and thrown in jail, maybe even turned into mincemeat. Nobody uses mincemeat these days. This isn't a joke, Subaru. Are you really okay? Is everyone from where you come from like this, or are you just special? Seeing how genuinely worried she looked, Subaru scratched his head, feeling a little guilty. I just have a bad memory, that's all. So, if you wouldn't mind, I'd be really grateful if you could fill me in. Amelia crossed her arms, tilting her head. You sound so formal all of a sudden, that's kind of suspicious. Subaru sighed. His social skills were a delicate balance. Too casual, and he'd get weird looks. Too proper, and people got the wrong idea. Amelia, for one, seemed easy to fool, which actually made him worry about her. Wait a sec, could it be that you're not completely sure about this stuff either, Amelia Tan? Just now, you were mixing up humble and respectful speech all over the place. I can't really deny that, Amelia admitted, looking away, clearly embarrassed. That was unexpected. Subaru had assumed she was knowledgeable about everything, but before he could poke fun at her, Roswal, who had been quietly observing, suddenly spoke up. I do understand your point, however, Lady Amelia is still studying such things. Studying, huh? Subaru raised an eyebrow. Wait, is that connected to what we were talking about earlier? Aha, how perceptive. It's the very thoughtfulness that allows you to say such thoughtless things. It's just common sense to think while you live. Even if your limbs feel heavy, your nose is dripping snot, and your stomach's turning inside out, you still have a responsibility to think, right? What a disturbing example. It's almost as if you've experienced these things yourself. Subaru said nothing, because, of course, he had experienced them. Seemingly intrigued, Roswal held out his hand, and the maids promptly placed a notebook and pen in it. Without missing a beat, he jotted something down before turning back to Subaru. Very good. I like how you're just brimming with ideas. How often do you write in that thing? And how many volumes do you even have by now? As far as that's concerned, it is a sacred tradition of House Mathers. Too bad, but I won't tell. Subaru rolled his eyes. Roswal's refined yet eccentric personality was exhausting. Just as he was wondering how to deal with someone with such an over-the-top character, Amelia cleared her throat, steering the conversation back on track. Now then, let's focus. Subaru, do you know what's currently going on in the Kingdom of Luganica? Not even a little. I can't believe how confidently you admitted that, Amelia sighed. The way you've been acting has been surprising me non-stop. It's honestly worrying. Her motherly concern made Subaru shift uncomfortably. He hadn't meant to trigger her protective instincts, but at this rate, their relationship was heading into a weird dynamic, one where she treated him like a clueless kid. Trying to shake that off, he playfully pestered her. So what? So what? You're a baby, she huffed. Listen carefully. Martial law is currently being enforced in Luganica, especially when it comes to border security. Martial law, that doesn't sound good. Aha, it doesn't sound good at all, Roswal chimed in. And the reason for that is, because the Kingdom of Luganica currently lacks a king. Subaru's breath caught. That was big. Glancing at Amelia, the twins, Beatrice, and Puck, he noticed none of them seemed particularly surprised. That meant this was common knowledge here. But even so, sharing such a politically sensitive detail with him, an outsider, made him wary. No need to worry, Roswal reassured him. This is already well known to the public. Oh, that's a relief. I was starting to think I just learned a dangerous secret and you guys were about to say, we can't let you leave alive. That'd be our fault if it happened, since we were the ones who told you, Amelia muttered. Anyway, the nation is in a really unstable state right now. That's why martial law is in place, Roswal continued. Without a ruler, it's crucial to prevent potential conflicts from spilling into or out of the country. Subaru nodded as the pieces fell into place. A kingdom without a king was a massive crisis. Whether the ruler had died from illness or something else, the sudden loss of leadership had clearly shaken the nation to its core. Wait a second, Subaru frowned. Isn't the usual solution for the king's children to take over? Or, If they're too young, wouldn't they have a regent in place? Oh ho, it seems you can keep up with this conversation. Anyhow, that is usually the case. However, something happened half a year ago. Roswal's tone grew heavier as he continued. At the same time His Majesty passed away, an epidemic broke out within the castle. It was said that the disease only affected a particular bloodline. As a result, the king and his descendants who lived in the royal castle perished. So it's true, then. There's no king, Subaru muttered, absorbing the weight of the revelation. And if that's the case, what happens to the country now? If there's no royal bloodline, are you gonna start a democracy and elect a prime minister? I do not understand the second half of what you said, Roswal replied with a bemused smile. But currently, the country is managed by a council of elders, composed of distinguished families with deep historical ties to the kingdom. For now, governance continues without much disruption. He paused, then added with a more serious expression, however. A kingdom must have a king. Yeah, of course. Even if the ruler was just a figurehead, no organization existed without someone at the top. The country was no different. Even in Japan, where democracy was valued, they still had a prime minister. Whether the role carried weight or not, leadership was necessary. So since the kingdom lacks a king, a new one has to be chosen. But the bloodline was wiped out, so the selection process has to be one that everyone can accept, Subaru reasoned. Roswal chuckled. Really, you're such a strange boy, Subaru. Even without knowing anything, you come up with such things. You're like a clever fool. Don't praise me like that. I'm not used to compliments, so if you keep it up, I might just fall in love with you. Subaru shot back, looking away in embarrassment. He slapped his reddening face, then turned back to Roswal with a more serious expression. All right, I think I've got the gist of it. The kingdom is struggling to choose a new ruler, foreign relations are dwindling, and the country is slipping into isolation. So if a mysterious outsider like me suddenly shows up, Subaru pointed at himself dramatically, that's totally suspicious. Furthermore, by associating with Lady Amelia, you have become linked to the House of Mathers. If someone were of a hasty disposition, that alone would be enough to. Roswal trailed off, making a cutting gesture across his neck with his hand. Subaru broke into a cold sweat. Hey, that little demonstration just now gave me a pretty good idea of what you mean. The House of Mathers must have a fine lineage. Maybe you're connected to the Council of Elders, or even something more than that. Roswal was enjoying the conversation far too much. The way he unraveled each revelation, relishing every twist, wasn't how an outsider would typically recount such a situation. Given his status and influence, it only made sense that he was tied to these affairs in some way. With that in mind, Subaru gulped and nervously placed his hand on the table. As an apology for my insolence, I would like to offer my forgiveness by, sacrificing my pinky finger. At least my pinky finger. Roswal let out a hearty chuckle. For someone with such a vivid imagination, I bring good news. You can be at ease, all right. I am not involved with the Council of Elders, nor do I have any direct claim to the throne at present. Right, Lady Amelia? With his finger still awkwardly presented, Subaru blinked as Roswal turned to Amelia for confirmation. Amelia, however, remained silent, her expression clouded with discomfort. Something felt off. Subaru was about to fire back at Roswal for his suggestive tone, but an unsettling thought began to creep in. There was something that had been bothering him for a while now. Wait, why is the lord of this manor calling Amelia Tan, lady? The highest-ranking person in a household was always addressed with the utmost respect. Subaru slowly turned his gaze toward Roswal, his budding unease rapidly blooming into full-fledged dread. Roswal folded his hands on the table, his smile widening. Is it not natural to address someone of higher rank than I with respect? Dumbfounded, Subaru froze, mouth agape. His head turned to Amelia with robotic slowness, as if the gears in his brain were grinding against each other. Amelia sighed, resigned. I don't want you to think I was trying to trick you or anything, all right? That is to say, Amelia Tan, you're, even in the face of shock, Subaru still clung to his beloved nickname for her. As if striking the final blow to his denial, she continued. Currently, my title is Royal Candidate, one of those seeking to become the 42nd ruler of the Kingdom of Luganica, with the backing of Margrave Roswal, that is. Subaru felt as if the hurdle had just skyrocketed to the height of a space elevator. The person I grew attracted to ended up being a queen. A thought like that crossed his mind. Well, technically, a queen candidate. A phrase like, queen candidate, has such an erotic feel to it. I really don't know what you mean by that, But I'm being serious here. Wah, such a cold gaze is making me tingle, as expected of a queen. Don't look at me like I'm a lowly pig. I'm not looking at you like that. I wish you wouldn't say things like that, Subaru. Trembling, Subaru collapsed onto the table. The rebuke from the beautiful girl so close to him made him writhe in agony. Face down, he tried to hide his expression, but his pounding heart betrayed his true feelings. The queen candidate, even in games and manga, a future ruler, always felt far beyond the reach of ordinary people. And Subaru? He didn't even have a family register in this world. He wasn't just beneath nobility, he wasn't even on the same level as the common folk. His love life wasn't just a challenge. It was like scaling a space elevator with his bare hands. Oh Jesus, say it ain't so. My path of love is surprisingly full of roadblocks. Romeo, who loved Juliet, surely feels for me. Subaru, are you okay? You suddenly went quiet. When he lifted his teary-eyed face, Amelia's amethyst eyes reflected in his blurred vision. She gazed at him with concern. Her skin was white as untainted snow, and her soft pink lips gave voice to a melody as lovely as a silver bell. She was radiant, distant. No matter how far he reached, she always seemed just beyond his grasp. Here goes. Unable to resist, Subaru tightly embraced the girl beside him. Wow, so petite. And so soft. Oh, this smell is amazing. For a moment, Amelia didn't register what had happened. Meanwhile, Subaru savored the sensation of holding her close. In his past life, he had zero experience hugging a girl. Amelia, warm, soft, and real, was entirely different. Then, realizing what was happening, Amelia turned beet red and started struggling. Wait. What's wrong? Seeing you in front of me awakened my bestial instincts, making resistance impossible. Then, when I calmed down and thought about it, I realized I'd never reach my goal anyway, so I figured, I'll never make it, so why bother? I really have no idea what you're talking about. Hold on a sec. Allow me to analyze myself. So, I first considered reaching out to you. Then, when you looked at me, my spinal reflex activated, which triggered my boyish instincts. This led to my libido going into overdrive, which resulted in the embrace. Then I realized I wouldn't die from it, so I figured, might as well enjoy it while I can. A happy moment for me, but an unfortunate surprise for Amelia Tan, I suppose. Even with all that explanation, I still have no idea what you mean. He kept rambling, trying to drag it out, but Amelia, still flustered, finally managed to push him away. The warmth disappeared. Subaru felt lonely. Meanwhile, Amelia, red-faced and teary-eyed, pointed at him. Don't just hug a girl so suddenly. It's not a big deal because it was me, but a normal girl would take it seriously, okay? It wasn't intentional. I must have moved according to someone else's command. Wait, could it be that you charmed me with magic, Amelia Tan? You're such an evil woman. There's no way I did that. Stop blaming me. And stop raising your thumb. His thumbs up was shot down, leaving Subaru dejected. Still, it wasn't a lie. His body had moved on instinct. The words he had spoken weren't lies, either. But if he admitted how much he truly meant them, he'd probably die of embarrassment. The truth is, your eyes have stolen my heart. That's so embarrassing. If I actually heard someone say that to me, I'd probably shout, that's amazing. Hold me tight. My oh my, you really have no shame at all, do you? Subaru clutched his cheeks, swaying his hips dramatically. Oh, stupid, you're making me blush. Watching from the side, Roswell struggled to contain his laughter. Amelia, still red in the face, turned to glare at him, clearly unimpressed. Roswell wiped away a tear and feigned innocence. But she is a candidate to be the future queen, is she not? Perhaps she will long remember this great disrespect towards her, and when she ascends the throne, she shall enact her judgment upon you. Are you telling me to regret my happiness in the present just because the future is uncertain? Don't underestimate the power of someone raised under pressure-free education that prioritizes instant gratification. With zero hesitation, Subaru flipped Roswell off before dramatically pointing at Amelia with his other hand. Amelia Tan may be a queen candidate, but right now, she's just a girl. And I'm just a man. No one has the right to interfere in the delicate balance of our casual, budding relationship. That's why. Subaru stepped onto a chair, chest puffed out, and clenched his fist in a pose that could only be described as ridiculous. Even if I were executed tomorrow, I would still hug Amelia Tan tightly, bury my face in her hair, and use that scent as my final nourishment to keep on living. Silence. A deep, suffocating silence filled the dining room as everyone stared at him, dumbfounded. "You're churning out quite the exaggerated monologue over what is essentially just perversion," came a bored voice. Subaru's theatrical momentum was crushed in an instant. The culprit? Beatrice, sitting in the distance, absent-mindedly petting Puck's soft fur. The tiny spirit contractor looked unimpressed, her tone dripping with exasperation. "In the end, you're just mesmerized by that girl's beauty, simple as that. And yet you ramble on and on about it, I suppose." Subaru's shoulders slumped. "You really are my natural enemy, huh?" Beatrice snorted in amusement, and as if her words had broken a spell, the others snapped out of their stunned daze. Which meant, the collective backlash for his earlier antics was about to begin. "So, in the end, why did you do all that, Subaru?" Amelia asked, her expression a mix of confusion and exasperation. "I already told you the absolute truth. But if you're looking for another reason, wait a second." Subaru's eyes narrowed as he slowly turned his head. His gaze landed on Beatrice. "Could it be that the evil lowly over there messed with my mind, you scheming little gremlin? You made a fool of yourself, and now you're trying to pin the blame on someone else. You're the worst. The absolute worst, in fact," Beatrice huffed, crossing her arms. "Shut it. Can the words of a pint-sized day drinker even be trusted? Maybe you're the one seeing things wrong because you're drunk. In the first place, at what age is it even legal to drink in this country?" Mid-shouting match, Subaru instinctively turned toward Rem, who was standing nearby. "Oi, Rem, what's the drinking age here?" Without missing a beat, Rem gave a polite curtsy. "If I may ask, sir, what does honky-dory mean?" Subaru blinked. "Huh?" Rem tilted her head gracefully, still holding her curtsy. Subaru scratched his head. "Oh, it means something like, all right, or, okay." Comprehending the explanation, Rem and Ram exchanged glances before responding in unison. "After you turn 14 years old. When you turn 14 years old." "You guys are joking, right? Joking. It means, are you serious? Are you being for real? Or, that's insane." "I see." The two gave synchronized bows, as if thoroughly impressed. With their newfound linguistic knowledge, Subaru decided to put it to the test. "Cereal, so it's actually honky-dory to drink at 14. That means, seriously, it's really okay to drink at 14. They perfectly translated it. Their shared understanding had been achieved. The three of them exchanged looks of triumph. Then, as if following some unwritten rule, they all raised their hands and shouted. "Yeah!" They high-fived in succession and, for some reason, started moving in a circle while keeping their hands together. "Have you finished your little performance, I wonder? What now? You're such a killjoy, you drill-haired lowly. Hush with the lily, in fact. And what the heck is up with you, I wonder?" Beatrice leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, looking thoroughly irritated. Subaru figured she was done arguing, especially since Puck was already perched on the table, patting her head in consolation. "Good. Let the tiny furball handle that." With that settled, Subaru turned back to Amelia. Unfortunately, their conversation had gone absolutely nowhere. Perhaps due to the nonsense that had just unfolded, Amelia's expression had cooled. Literally. Her violet eyes carried a chilly intensity as she stared at him. Subaru, completely unfazed, sighed dramatically. "The fact that you're still cute, even when you glare at me like that, should be a crime." Amelia exhaled sharply. "I think I'm finally starting to understand how I got caught up in all this, Subaru." She crossed her arms. "All I have to do is ignore all the ridiculous things you say and focus on the actual point, right? I feel offended that you think I crack jokes with everyone. I'd only say something like that to you, Amelia Tan. I'm being serious. Totally serious. Super duper serious. Yes, just forget it. Let's get to the point." Clapping her hands to reset the conversation, Amelia quietly returned to her seat. With no choice but to follow, Subaru sat back down. As he did, Roswell chimed in. "Though we strayed from the subject quite a bit, let's get back on track, shall we? Is that alright with you, Subaru?" "Well, considering my head's still attached to my shoulders, I'll pray it's nothing bad." Roswell whistled at Subaru's remark. Amelia looked just as caught off guard. She had assumed Subaru was being disrespectful to gauge their intentions, but she was overthinking it. Of course, he was just spouting nonsense. By speaking first, Subaru made sure to steer the conversation before they could expose him. Taking the initiative meant lowering the odds of things turning in a dreadful direction. All right, I'll take a guess then. You brought up the whole thing about Emilia Tan being a candidate for the throne, right? I'm guessing that's related. Subaru, are you a pervert, or are you not? Those are pretty extreme choices. With wide eyes, Emilia gave a light-hearted apology. Sorry. While Subaru was still offended, Roswell smoothly followed up. Nevertheless, your guess was spot on. The matter of Lady Amelia's candidacy is quite relevant to what comes next. Lady Amelia. I understand. With a quiet nod, Amelia reached into her pocket. The light-hearted atmosphere in the dining room vanished. Though the same people sat around the table, a dignified air now weighed upon them. Subaru straightened his posture without thinking. Amelia placed an object on the table. Isn't that the insignia from the dragon-adorned insignia? The one Subaru had risked his life to. The deep crimson jewel gleamed in Amelia's hand, its beauty sparking awe in Subaru. You see, the dragon represents the crest of Luganica, Roswell explained. It wouldn't be too much to call it the Dragon Kingdom of Luganica. The symbol is often found on castle walls, weapons, and armor, but this insignia is especially important. Anyhow. He paused. Subaru shot him a look, urging him to continue. Roswell nodded before shifting his gaze to Amelia. Closing her eyes for a brief moment, Amelia took a steady breath and spoke. It signifies one's qualification as a royal selection candidate, a test to determine if the person is worthy of sitting on the throne of Luganica. Her strained voice carried the weight of the truth. Subaru's eyes widened. He looked at the insignia on the table once more. A dragon with outstretched wings. A crimson jewel in the center, the proof of her claim. When everything clicked into place, connecting the dots, realization dawned on him. No way, you lost the insignia that qualifies you for the royal selection. Don't put it so disgracefully. A light-fingered girl stole it. That's the same thing. Subaru slammed his hands on the table, rising to his feet. The impact rattled the dishes, but Rem swiftly steadied them. Subaru barely noticed. He was too focused on Amelia, whose face was now flushed with embarrassment. Even as she pouted, Subaru pressed on. Seriously, what happens if you lose it? Can't you just get a new one issued it, like a public office or something? Public office? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Roswell mused, adjusting his extravagant collar. Boo, if a king cannot even protect a single insignia, how could they be trusted with an entire kingdom? That's right, Subaru muttered. It'd be like if Lord Kamon left all his work to the careless Hatchabe, only for him to be just as careless. Careless? Hatchabe? The twins echoed his words in confusion, but Subaru was too busy processing everything. The stolen insignia, the alleyway encounter, the fight at the stolen goods warehouse, and now, this meeting. The pieces clicked into place. If the Imperial Guards found out about the insignia going missing, that'd be seriously bad. That's why Amelia Tan was searching for it alone, like a lone wolf. Yes, that's right, Amelia admitted. The assassin forced the small girl to steal it. She had undoubtedly been employed. So, in short, someone is attempting to eliminate Amelia Tan from the running for queen. That's most likely the case, Roswell confirmed. If someone wanted her to drop out of the selection, stealing the insignia is the simplest method. Everything clicked. Subaru's mouth curved into a smirk. Man, looking back, I did an amazing job, huh? Amelia blinked at him in surprise. Seriously, if I hadn't gotten the insignia back, you'd have been disqualified, right? You were one step away from waving goodbye to your chance at the throne. And you wouldn't be able to just say, oops, I lost it. Teehee, sorry. I only understood about 60% of that. Wah, it doesn't matter. Subaru waved his arms, then leaned in, grinning. What actually matters is that I played a super important role in saving your candidacy, Amelia Tan. I think I deserve a little reward, don't you? Maybe a nice, juicy thank you gift. His excitement bubbling over, Subaru bent down, bringing his face close to hers, taking exaggerated nasal breaths. Foo, how about it, Amelia Tan? This fool right here did a pretty amazing job making you happy, huh? Maybe I can expect a special favor. I wonder. He lifted her chin with a smirk, waiting for someone to scold him, already bracing himself for the backlash. But, yeah, you're right, Amelia said softly, huh? You've been a great help to me, Subaru. More than I can put into words. Her violet eyes met his, filled with sincerity. So, you can ask me for anything. Subaru froze. If it's something I'm capable of doing, I'll do it, she continued. No, I'll do whatever I can. Because what you gave me means that much to me. She placed a hand on her chest, her expression unwavering. Subaru swallowed. Oh shit. I completely misread the mood. His bravado evaporated. Awkwardly, he pulled his hand away from her chin. Since childhood, he had always struggled with reading the room. He wasn't good at picking up on cues until it was too late. One time, he was hanging out with two friends, only to realize in the end that it was actually a date, and I was the third wheel. But he was very, very good at recognizing when he had already screwed up. And right now, he knew, he had completely miscalculated. Subaru, now realizing his excitement was completely out of sync with Amelia's serious gaze, found himself at a loss. Hey, a girl can't just say they'll do anything, you know. You might run into a bad guy like me who just wants to, mwahaha. Even so, that's fine. If that's what you want, Subaru, I'll follow your lead. You can go, mwahaha, foofa, or even if it's a umph thing, or making whoopee, hick. A girl shouldn't say such obscene things. And why did it sound like you were about to cry at the end? Subaru exhaled in relief as Amelia hugged her own shoulders, visibly shaken. If she had truly resigned herself to such a fate, he wouldn't have known how to handle it. That aside, the fact that she even considered him capable of such a thing stung a little. Did she really think so little of him? With a sigh, he reached out and gently placed a hand on her silver hair, ruffling it with light strokes. Amelia flinched at first, startled by the sudden touch, but as Subaru continued without saying a word, she quietly let him. Her reaction reminded him of a small, cautious animal, hesitant, yet endearing. Satisfied, Subaru turned to Roswell. The eccentric nobleman had been watching him the entire time, his amusement evident. As soon as their eyes met, he let out a playful, "Oh my," raising his eyebrows dramatically. "What is it? Am I perhaps interrupting something? Should we leave?" "Like hell you are. And besides, having my first time at the dining table. That'd be insane. What are you even implying, you filthy, perverted nobleman?" "Oh my, I didn't tell you to go that far, though." Subaru smirked at Roswell's exaggerated sigh. Letting his other hand drift to his chin, he mimicked the classic pose of a young detective from an anime, thumb and index finger pressed in thought. "Alright, listen up, Rosie. I get it, you're dangling some pretty sweet conditions in front of me, and honestly, it's more than I deserve. It's the classic carrot in front of the horse scenario. But I'm not dumb enough to bite just yet. Before I accept anything, there's something I need to ask you." "Oh ho. Go goon. Then here it is. Answer carefully and truthfully, okay?" Subaru lowered his hand, leveling a sharp gaze at the noble. "Amelia Tan is a candidate to be queen, right? So, what the hell do you have to do with that?" He pointed a finger straight at Roswell, the question hanging heavy in the air. For a moment, there was silence. Then, Roswell's grin widened, twisting into something even more amused than before.